Good morning to all. So in the last class we discussed about the central processing unit, basically the major four operations of this CPU, and then we discussed about the components of the CPU. So the fetching, then decoding, executing and write back. So these are the major four operations done by the CPU. Then we discussed about the components, which includes the ALU, then the control unit, and last we discussed about the registers. So today we have the last topic of this module, which is the processor types, or the different types of these kinds of computer processors. So basically we have to focus on the major two kinds of these processors, but before that we have to classify the processor types into different levels. Basically it is a general classification based on their use. So the three major classification of the processors includes: the first one is the high-end processors, or the for the high performance kinds of these processors. Second one is the mid-range processors, and third one is the economy level processors. So these are the major three classification or divisions of the processors. So the processor of this computer, it is very important aspect regarding the computer hardware, in which all the kind of this performance and the speed, all these kinds of aspects are based on the processor of the computer. So we have to choose a very specific type of this processor while we looking for a computer. So we have two major companies. They provide the different kinds of these processors. They are AMD and Intel. So in the textbook we have to go through all these kinds of processor, different types of varieties of these processors, and basically the major difference between these kinds of processors is that the specification, or these kinds of the advancement in the technology. So basically Intel and also the AMD, both these companies, they provide different specification for their processors. So we have different generations in these kinds of processors, and basically the processor of a computer is one of the major aspect regarding the computer performance. So both the memory and the processor, both these aspects are very important aspect while we focusing on the topic, the computer hardware. So we have two major important aspects regarding the processor. First one is the performance and the speed of the computer, and second one is the minimum requirements of this softwares. So all the computers must have a kind of performance level in order to perform these kinds of tasks, any kind of this process in the computer. So according to that, we have to focus on the computer processor, and we have to purchase that kind of processor according to our need. So basically for the high-end performance, we have to focus on the high-end processors. So to get a mid-range, for the moderate kind of this performance, we have to focus on the mid-range processors. But only for the basic performance for the computer, we can focus on the topic, the economy level processors. So these are the major aspects regarding the processor, and also the minimum software requirements. So each of the software, they have some kind of minimum requirements to run the software. For example, for the operating system, they must provide some kinds of the specification for the computer. So basically the minimum requirement of the RAM, minimum requirement of the memory, then the minimum requirement of this kind of processors. So it can handle this processor can handle a specific limit of these kinds of operations. So according to that, we have to focus on the processor. So it is very important that we have to focus on the specific type of processor while we purchasing a computer. So here we have two major companies. They are AMD and Intel. So the Intel computer processor is exclusively designed by the Intel technologies, and its latest and most popular models include the Intel Pentium 4 processor, and it runs with the HT technology, which means the hyper threading technology, and Intel Celeron processor, also another important processor which is introduced by the Intel technologies. And the Intel Pentium 4 processor is a powerful processor that can handle the demanding applications such as the DVD authoring, 3D gaming and other multimedia applications. So the Intel Pentium 4 processor with the hyper threading technology, is designed for running multiple applications simultaneously with a fast and efficient and response. And also the Intel Celeron processor is compatible with almost all leading computer hardware and software brands. So these are the some popular kind of these processors which is introduced by the Intel technology. So basically we have a wide varieties of these processors which is introduced by both Intel and AMD, and the i7, i8, that kind of processors, and also the different generations of these processors. And also we have the core level, dual core, quad core, like that. So there are many classification inside these processors also. So basically we have to focus on our specifications. So our need is the one of the most important aspect regarding a processor, choosing a processor. So this is regarding just an introduction to the Intel manufacturers, or the kind of these processors. And now we have the AMD. So the AMD means the advanced micro devices. So AMD, it is the short form of this advanced micro devices, and it provides excellent performance and value. So it is compatible with most of the shelf computer programs and applications, and some AMD computer processors are programmed with a built-in antivirus protection. Its most popular models are AMD Athlon HP and AMD Athlon 64. And also some kind of this processor, they provide the software requirements also. So for example, the Athlon HP, which is a model of this AMD processor, it provides a kind of enhancing for the Windows HP. It is also a popular operating system by Windows, but we have the Windows, latest versions of Windows are available now. So we have to upgrade this kind of softwares and as well as these processors according to our specifications. So basically regarding the Windows HP, the Athlon HP, which is a processor by the AMD technologies, it provides a outstanding performance by enhancing these Windows HP applications with the intense and lifelike images and graphics. And also the AMD Athlon 64 processor is designed for more advanced computers, especially those with 64-bit programs. It allows the execution of complex and software and games. So basically we have two major kinds of this architecture of this computer software, 64-bit and the 32-bit. So for the 64-bit applications or softwares, we have to choose an advanced form of these processors in order to get a very smooth experience. So for the gaming, for the multimedia applications, we have to focus on the major high-end processors in order to occupy these kinds of all these kinds of operations. So that's regarding just an overview regarding the AMD processors. So both Intel and AMD, these are the major manufacturers of these processor, different kinds of computer processors. They provide different specifications according to the different specifications and according to our need. So all these kinds of processors or all these kinds of companies, they are advancing day by day. They are introducing different kinds of processors according to the latest technologies and the AI performance and like that. So all these kinds of the processors, they provide different specification according to the new advancement and the new technology with the new technology. So that's regarding the just an overview regarding the AMD and Intel. So both these companies are regarded as the good manufacturers of the processors, computer processors. Then we have to choose our need. So what is for you? It is a very important aspect regarding the processor. So while choosing the processor, we have to choose our need. We have to focus on our specification. So for example, if our need is just to open some media files, to run basic games, and to run some word processing softwares, and also minimum level these kinds of softwares, so we can choose these mid-range processors. But we have many advanced form of this performance. We have to focus on that kind of performance. we must focus on the high-end processors, because we cannot replace these processors in a very systematic manner, because we can upgrade all these other components of these laptops and computers, but the processor is one of the economic level. It is very important aspect regarding the computer. So we have to choose the kind of this processor which is very suitable for our specifications while purchasing a computer. So it is regarding the choosing a processor for our need. So according to our need, we can choose different kinds of these processors, but the Intel company, they provide different levels of this specification. For example, the hyper threading technology for better efficiency and faster response, and also these kinds of the processor, they are very compatible with almost all softwares of these computer applications. So basically the Intel and AMD, they provide different specifications, so we have to choose our according to our need. So that's regarding the our choosing a processor for our need. Now we have the quality matters. So quality is one of the important aspects regarding the processor. So we should get the high-end performance with the minimum level of this requirements of the computer. So basically we have to focus on the quality of this kind of processors. So regardless of which of the computer processor types you want, make sure to pick a high-end model, especially if you are going to use the computer for application like games and design graphics software. And also it may be more expensive, but at least you can get high quality graphics without having to upgrade every now and then. So it is very important regarding the computer or the quality of this kind of this performance of the computer, in which we have to choose the high-end model. Maybe it may be like a little expensive than the mid-range processors, but we have to choose the high-end processors in order to run all these kinds of advanced form of the graphics, especially for the gaming, for the multimedia, and all for all the kind of these upgrades. So we cannot upgrade these kinds of the CPU or this kind of processors day by day, because it is very expensive part of this computer. So we have to choose the high-end model. It is very better decision while we choosing the computer processor. So basically we have two important aspects regarding the processor. So we have to choose the our specification. According to our specification, we have to choose the processor, and also we should focus on the quality of this kind of performance of the processors. So that's regarding just an overview regarding the different kinds of the processors. So now we have different types of these processors, which includes the Intel processors and AMD processors. So basically first topic is the high-end processor. So the Intel company, they provide the Core i7 kind of this processor, in which it is the newest processor offering currently available for the desktop and notebook offerings. And the i7 chips contain either 2 or 4 cores of computing power, supports the hyper threading and Intel Turbo Boost technology. So this is just like the overview regarding the Core i7 processor. It is the one of the most high-end processor which is advanced by the Intel computers. So it is the newest processor according to the Intel. Now we have different upgrade for this kind of processors, but it is available for the both desktop and for the laptops. And also the i7 chip, it is the chipset of this kind of processors, and it contains either 2 or 4 cores of computing power, and it supports hyper threading and Intel Turbo Boost technology. So that's regarding the i7 processor of this Intel. Now we have the second category of this second type of this Intel processor, which is the i5 model. So the i5 means it is based upon the same architecture as the i7, but the i5 features 2 or 4 cores at a similar class of performance of the i7 processor at a lower cost. The i5 features the turbo boost but does not offer the hyper threading. So there is a slight change in its specification, but basically almost all these functions or the computing power and all these kinds of performance is just like similar to the i7 processor. So basically after i5 the i7 processor was advanced by the Intel. So it also supports this kind of turbo boost technology, but it does not offer the hyper threading technology, which is also offered by the Intel computers. Now we have the other type, which is the Core 2 code. So the other type of this processor which is by the Intel technology is the Core 2 code. So which means the code means the 4 kinds of these cores. So it contains 4 processing cores to optimize the gaming, video and image processing built on the same architecture of the Core 2 Duo. So it means that it is just for mainly it is advanced for the gaming and for the multimedia processing, and also it contains 4 major cores of this processor. So it is also a kind of one of the successful kind of this processor, which is by Intel technology. Now we have the last kind of this Intel processor, which is the Core 2 Extreme. So it means available in both dual and quad core versions. Distinguishing features of the Extreme series include the higher bus speeds than the non-Extreme versions, and then unlocked clock multiplier for the further customization of your computing performance. It is also a very important aspect regarding the Intel processor, in which it also supports all these kinds of for the high performance of the computer. So the Core 2 Extreme, which means that the Core 2 Extreme processor is the one of the most successful processor by the Intel technologies. And after that the Core 2 Quad, which means the 4 core kind of this processor were introduced. After that the i5 and then i7 processors were introduced. So basically all these kind of processors, they provide the high-end performance for the computers. So that's the 4 major varieties of the Intel processors. Then we have the AMD processor, which comes under the topic the high-end processors. So regarding the AMD processors, we have the first one is the Phenom 2nd X4. So the Phenom, which means it is the latest generation of consumer class processors designed to deliver the ultimate HD quality video. Quad-core Phenom also this kind of these processor chips are designed to be energy efficient and run quieter and cooler than the other kind of these models. So AMD provides different varieties of these processors, in which it is basically designed for the HD quality, for the ultimate HD quality of the video, and also it designed for the energy efficient. So both these aspects regarding the AMD processors are very important regarding the different types of these processors. Now we have the Phenom S3, which is also the second model by the AMD. So the H3 processors, it also provides the triple core that offers similar HD performance to the quad core Phenom X4 while running the quietly and coolly as well, which means that it only have 3 major cores. While we comparing the Phenom to X4, it have the 4 major cores. So according to the name of this processor, we can specify the core of this different types of cores of this processor. So H3 processors only have 3 major cores. Now we have the last kind of this high-end performance processors by the AMD technology, which is the Phenom 1 X4 and Phenom 1 X3. So both these processors are the AMD first generation of consumer class processors featuring quad and triple core performance, features 64-bit computing performance as well as AMD's hyper transport bus technology. So this is the first generation of this processor, but also it features high-end performance for that kind of this specifications. So basically the latest model of this AMD processors is the Phenom 2 X4, which is the quad core kind of this processor. So now we have the mid-range processors, in which these processors are high-speed processors that usually support multitasking and can run applications like the Adobe Creative Suite and basic 3D graphics. So the mid-range processors are for the moderate use of these kinds of computers, for the moderate performance, And regarding these mid-range processors, we have three major processors by the three major variants of processors by Intel technology, which includes the Core i3 processor, then the Core 2 Duo, and lastly the Pentium dual core. So these are the three major mid-range processors from the Intel. Then we have two major processors from the AMD. They are the Athlon H2 and the Turion H2. So both these are the dual core processors, and also the regarding the Core i3 and the Core 2 Duo, and also the Pentium dual core from the Intel also comes under this segment, which is the dual core processors. So the Core i3 processor, so based upon the same architecture as the high-end i5 and i7, the i3 is available strictly as a dual core processor. It does not feature the turbo boost or the hyper threading, but presents higher levels of performance than the Core 2 Duo at a smaller cost. So basically the Core i3 processor is a very good performer, and also it gives a decent kind of this specification, but it is regarded as a dual core processor, and it does not feature these kinds of turbo boost and also the hyper threading, and it gives a kind of higher level performance at this range. So that's regarding the Core i3 processor. Now we have the Core 2 Duo. So this processor is also regarded as a dual core processor, and it contains two processing cores to optimize gaming, video and image processing. And laptops with the thin chip tend to be the thinner and more energy efficient. So this processor is very good for the laptops, and it is also regarded as a energy efficient kind of this processor. So it is a dual core processor from the Intel. And last one is the Pentium dual core. So the dual core processor is also regarded as this kind of Pentium dual core processor. It is based on the Core micro architecture, and a class beneath of this Core 2 Duo and Core Duo of Intel's processor offerings. The Pentium dual core is available in current desktops and laptops. So basically this processor is very useful for the both laptops and for the desktop PC. So basically we have different kinds of these varieties of these processors from the Intel. Basically in the mid-range we have three major processors, which includes the i3 processor, then the Core 2 Duo, and last one is the Pentium dual core. So that's the major mid-range processor from the Intel. Now we have the two major processors from the AMD. They are Athlon H2 and the Turion H2. So both these are H2 kind of this processor, which means both these processors are the dual core processors. So the Athlon H2, it is a dual core processor that is 80% faster than its single core counterpart, and it is great for the multitasking and your basic graphic and video editing. So it is a decent kind of this processor which in this mid range, and it gives a great for this kind of multitasking, and it gives a decent graphics for the gaming and for the video editing, and it is very faster than the single core processor. So that's regarding the Athlon H2. It is a very good processor from the mid-range category from the AMD. Second one is the Turion H2. So this is also a dual core processor that can often be found in most mid to upper level notebooks and desktops. So this is also very commonly used kind of this processor for the notebooks and for the desktops. So basically it also gives a decent amount of performance at this level. So that's the regarding the major mid-range processors that we have to focus on. And also we have different advancement in all this category. So basically the Intel i3 processor or the Athlon H2 processor, all these processors are regarded as the dual core processor, and it is regarded as the mid-range processors. So first topic was regarding the high-end processors, which gives a very good high performance kind of this level. Then second one was regarding the mid-range processor. So for these processors are for the mid-range kind of this performance. Then the last one is the economy processor. So this is basically for the basic use of a computer, only function the basic operations of a computer. So here we have three major processors from the Intel. They are the Centrino, Atom and Celeron. So the Celeron and Atom, Centrino, all these processors are regarded as a economy processors from the Intel, and these processors are suitable for emailing and for the internet browsing and for the simple games to run this kind of low-end games. Then from the AMD we have two major processors. They are the Sempron and Athlon. So the Sempron is a powerful and also economically priced single core processor with the built-in security features that help protect against the viruses and other malware. And regarding the Athlon processor is a single core processor that offers great performance for all your basic needs. So this is regarding the two major economy processors from the AMD. Regarding the Intel that we discussed in the mid-range processor, already we discussed about that. So regarding the economy processors, we have three major processors from the Intel. They are the Centrino, then Atom and the Celeron. So the Centrino means it is a mobile-oriented processor based upon the Pentium M or Core Duo architectures. The Centrino also integrates the wireless networking technology, allowing for smaller size laptops. It offers slight performance boost over simply choosing a Core Duo and Dell wireless card, which is typically less expensive. So this is the basic kind of this Intel processor, which is the Centrino. It is a single core processor and it is based upon the Pentium M or the Core Duo architectures, and it gives the like the feature like the wireless networking. It also enables this kind of feature. So regarding the second category, the second model of the second variant of this processor from the Intel is the Atom. So the Atom means it primarily found in the netbooks. Then also it has been designed with a low power consumption in mind, and as a result it offers much less processing power than other current Intel alternatives. So it is basically designed for the low power consumption. So this means that the power that consumed by this processor will be less, but also the performance also will be less regarding this processor. So last one is the Celeron. So the Celeron means it is a basic economy model of this processor, and it is basically slower than all other kind of this processor. So it is not recommended by this any kind of this technologies because it is very slower in its performance. So this is the last segment of this processors, which is the economy processors. So with that we just completed the topic, the processor types. So we have the high-end processors for the high performance. Second one was the mid-range processor for the moderate kind of this performance. And third one was the economy processor. So this means that only for the basic performance, basic operations of a computer. So that's regarding this topic, which is the processor types. So with that we just completed the module second of this informatics, which is the introduction to hardware. So basically we have 7 major topics to focus on in this chapter. So the first one was regarding the introduction to the hardware. So like after that introduction we discussed about the second topic, which is the symbol diagram or the basic organization of the computer. So the symbol model or organizational computer, we discussed about the 4 major topics, which includes the input unit, output unit, then the memory, and also the central processing unit. So these are the basic of a computer, a basic block diagram of the computer, like that. So the third topic was regarding the input devices. So input devices, and also the fourth one was regarding the output devices. So both these two types of devices, the input and output, all these two types are very important regarding the hardware of a computer. So regarding the input devices, we have the keyboards, then the pointing devices like mouse, graphic tablet, then the imaging and video input devices, and also the Bluetooth devices. Then regarding the output devices, which is the fourth topic of this module, which was subdivided into 3 major topics, which includes the visual display unit. They are the CRT monitor and the LCD monitor, comparison between these two monitors, and also some performance measure like that. Then we discussed about the second topic under the output devices, which is the computer speaker, and the last one was regarding the printers, the impact printers and also the modern printers. Then the fifth topic of this module was regarding the USB flash drive. So it is regarded as an external kind of the storage device, and it is the basic component and the principle of that like that. So all these topics are very important regarding the USB flash drive. So it is the fifth topic of this module. Then the next topic was regarding the modems, different kinds of modem, different types of modems, which includes the internal and external modems. Then the last topic was regarding the central processing unit, which is the CPU. So CPU, regarding that we discussed about the four major operations of the CPU, then the components of the CPU. So regarding the operation of the major four operations of the CPU, it includes the fetching, then decoding, executing and write back. And the components of the CPU, the structural components of the CPU, which includes the ALU, arithmetic and logic unit, then the control unit is CU, then last one was regarding the registers, and also the regarding the central processing unit. And also today we discussed about the different kinds of processor types of these processors, basically higher end for the higher end performance, for the mid-range performance, and for the economy level performance. So that's regarding the major topics that we discussed in this module. So go through all these kind of topics, and we have to focus on the questions of this module, which includes the topics like the components of the CPU, then the input-output unit of this computer, then the monitor, the visual display unit. It is also very important aspect regarding this module, in which the CRT and LCD, the differences between them, and also the performance measurements like that. Then the printers, it is also very important. Printers means the impact and modern printers, and the working principle of these printers, and also the working principle of this CRT and LCD. In a very short manner, it is very important to focus on. Then the another question is from the central processing unit itself, the components, and then the different types of these operations and like that. Then from the topic also we have the modems and USB flash drive. So these are the major types of these questions that we can expect from this module. So go through all these kind of topics. Basically we should focus on the topics which are very important regarding this chapter, which is the simple model or basic organization of the computer with the diagram, and also the CPU, the components of the CPU, then the input and output unit, which includes all these kinds of topics. So we have some important questions from this module that we should focus on. So the first question is from the components of the CPU. So we discussed about the different components of the CPU, which includes the ALU, then the control unit, and also from the registers. So all these three are the three major aspects are the regarded as the components of the CPU. Then we discussed about also the operations of this CPU. So it is also very important regarding this question. Then another question is from the computer keyboard. So basically the different types of keyboards, and also a question from the different pointing devices, which includes the mouse, then the joystick like that. So all these kind of pointing devices, or like the describe two pointing devices like that. So it is also very important. Then the image scanners and the Bluetooth devices, all these topics are very important in the examination point of view. Then from the topic the monitors, from the visual display unit, we have two major topics. They are the CRT and LCD. So just like a comparison between these two monitors, major advantages and disadvantages, and also some performance parameters of this monitor. So it is also very important, and also we should focus on the principle of this CRT and LCD monitor in a very short manner. Basically how it functions, the CRT and LCD. It is also very important. Then the flash drive, USB flash drives, it is also very important topic. Then lastly we have the modems, different types of modems, and in general we have the input and output units. So both these topics are very important in the examination point of view, so it is very important. Then for the long essay questions, It includes these major components of a CPU, in which we have to focus on all these different kinds of CPU and also the basic operations of the CPU. Then also the another question is from the different types of ports used in the computer. So it means the external and internal buses. So it is also very important. Then the input and output devices in a detailed manner. Then also regarding the printers, it is also very important aspect from this module. So basically all these questions are based on the 7 topics that we discussed. So these are the basic topics or the basic important aspect regarding from this module 2 of this informatics paper. Now we are moving to the next module, which is the 4th module of this informatics paper. We have the 3rd module to focus on, which is the introduction to software. But before that, we are going to the next module, which is the 4th module of this paper, which is the introduction to the networking. So regarding this chapter, we have 4 major divisions, which includes the first one is regarding the computer networks, and second one was regarding the internet. Then third one is regarding the internet services, and the fourth one, the last topic of this module, which is regarding the security issues. So we have 4 major topics in this module. So basically it is a very small chapter, but we have to focus on all these topics, which includes the different types of networks, then regarding the internet in a very detailed manner, and also the internet services like the HTML, the www, and also the web browsers, then the search engines, email, and also regarding the blogs, and regarding the social networking sites also we have to focus on. And last one is regarding the security issues. So these are the basic topics from this 4th module of this paper. So today we have to focus on the introduction part of this computer networking. So the computer network, definition of the computer network, we can define the computer networks as it is a collection of computers and devices connected by the communication channels that facilitates the communications among users and allows the users to share the resources with other users. So basically a computer network is a collection of these networks or these computers and devices. It is connected by the communication channels, and in which it just gives this kind of communication among the users and allow the users to share the resources with other users. So this means that the computer networks helps to share the ideas, share the file between the users, and also we can communicate between this kind of this interface. So basically the computer network means it is a kind of collection or the collection of computers and devices connected by the communication channels that facilitates the communication among the users, and it allows the users to share the resources with other users. So this is the basic definition for the computer networks. Then the networks was built with the mix of the computer hardware and computer software. So basically the networks can be worked with the help of this hardware, both with the help of this hardware and software. So basically the hardware, which means that the modems and the Wi-Fi dongles, any kind of the device which helps to get to connect to the network. Then regarding the software, we have to focus on these web browsers to search this kind of any kind of this information from the web, and also some applications regarding that. So all these kind of topics or the softwares and applications are also important topic in the computer networks. So basically we have major components of the computer networks in which we have to focus on all these topics like the introduction to this chapter. So the first one is regarding the basic fundamental or the basic component of for this networking. So basically at least 2 computer server or the client workstation is required for this networking. Then second one is regarding the network interface card, which is the NIC. So the NIC means it is a network interface card, also known as a network adapter or the network card. It is a very important component installed in a computer that connects the computer to the cabling and also which in turn links all the computers to the network together. So with the help of this NIC, the network interface card, which is integrated in the computer, with the help of that we can connect to the internet. We can communicate with the other users with the help of this NIC. So it is a network interface card, and it is also known by the name network adapter or network card. It is a very important component installed in a computer, in which it connects the computer to the cabling, which in turn links all the computer on the network together. So with the help of this network card we can link with all the other computers. So that's regarding the second point of this major component of the computer networking. Then the third point is regarding the cables. So the cables which helps to connect the computers to each other, although wireless communication is becoming more common. So with the help of this wired connection and wireless connection, we can connect with the computer to the network. So that's regarding the cables. Then the fourth point is the network operating system software. So this network operating system software means a kind of software or the operating system in order to access the internet. So basically the operating system which includes the Windows or the Linux or the Mac, any other kind of this operating system, with the help of that we can connect to the internet. So for example, we have some common kind of this operating system are given in the textbook. Now we have the hub or the switch. So the hub or the switch means a hub is a device used to connect a PC to the network. So this is a very important aspect regarding the computer network, in which a hub or the switch, it is a device used to connect a PC to the network. So in order to connect to the network, we need this kind of switch or the hub. With the help of that component, we can connect to the network. And the function of a hub is to direct the information around the network, facilitating the communication between all connected devices. So the function of the hub, it is very important as well regarding the network components, in which it helps to communicate between all connected devices, and also it helps to share to give this kind of information to the other networks. So this is the function of the hub or the switch. And also the switch means, we can define the switch as, it is often termed as a smart hub. With switching, each connection get dedicated bandwidth and can operate at a full speed. So basically with the help of this switch we can change the level of this network to the any other kind of this mode of this networking. So basically a hub or the switch, it helps to connect to the network from a PC. So it is a device used to connect a PC to the network. Simply it is a very useful component for the computer in order to connect to the network. So last one is the router. So the router, which means a kind of a device, it is a gateway device that is responsible for connecting multiple networks together. So with the help of this router, we can connect multiple networks together to a common kind of this device. So the router helps to connect to a network, and we can connect multiple networks to a common kind of this router. So basically the network that we get from this kind of router or any kind of this network devices, we can connect to multiple devices with the help of this routers. So that's regarding the basic or the important components of the computer network networking. So basically we have the 6 major topics of this major components of the computer network. So the first one was regarding the server, computer server or the client workstation. Second one was regarding the NIC, which means the networking interface cards. And third one was regarding the cables or this kind of wireless connection to connect to the network. Fourth one was regarding the operating system, which enables to connect to the network. Then the fifth one was regarding the hub or the switch, which helps to connect to the network from the PC. Then the last one was regarding the routers. It helps to, it is like a gateway device. It helps to connect the multiple network together. So these are the basic components of the network. So this is just like the introduction for the computer networks. So we have another important points, topics in this chapter, which includes the benefits of the computer networks and also different types of networks. So all these topics, we will discuss all these topics in the next class. So in this class, we discussed about the processor types, different types of processors, and also we discussed about the major topics of this second module. Then we discussed about the introduction for the fourth module of this paper, which is the introduction to networking. And also lastly, we discussed about the major components of a computer to connect for the computer networking. So that's for today. Thank you. Happy learning.